Welcome back into the Enrichment Sports Source. This segment of our show brought to you by the law offices of Ogle, Elrod, and Burrill. They handle personal injury law, they handle DUI and criminal defense law, family law, bankruptcy law, you name it, and the law offices of Ogle, Elrod, and Burrill are trained and prepared to help you with it. 865-546-1111. Find yourself in a jam? Those are the guys to call, the law offices of Ogle, Elrod, and Burrill. All right, back with Chuck, Mark, Bob, Jimmy. 1 national title, 2 conference titles, then a downturn in record, a new athletic director who didn't hire him, a forced resignation after 16 seasons. Am I talking about Phillip Fulmer or Mack Brown? Because it's identical for both of them. Phillip Fulmer had 2 losing seasons in his last 4. Mack Brown had 1 in his last 5, I think, maybe 1 in his last 4. But here's the question. Texas, big program. Tennessee, big program. Texas has the recruiting advantage, obviously. But aside from don't hire Lane Kiffin, what lessons could Texas learn from what Tennessee's gone through?
Take your time and hire the right guy.
Exactly.
Just don't. Now Tennessee certainly had a long time to figure out Kiffin, or longer time, but they did rush into it after Kiffin left, and they were behind the 8 ball a little bit. And we've talked about this before. You're better off keeping Kippy Brown. Of course, the next guy on the list, if they hadn't hired Dooley, was Sumlin. But take your time to get the right guy. And don't rush into it because you're trying to save a recruiting class or save 2 or 3 recruits.
And I'm going to cut Jimmy's in half and just say take your time, because the right guy, you're not going to know that for 3 years. I mean, regardless of who you hire, you don't know how he's going to work out, but take your time and don't rush it.
I would say don't go too risky. Kiffin was risky. That came, everybody has some risk involved, but a guy like Kiffin, I don't think any of us thought it when they hired him, but in hindsight you could say, he really liked it out there at Southern Cal. Whatever happens, if that comes open, and he's their 19th choice after everybody else turns him down. If I'm Texas, I don't go find somebody who's got a dream job somewhere else, put it that way. Thoughts on what Texas could learn from Tennessee? Quickly?
I think it's also important with the staff of people you put around the head coach and the recruiting base of what kind of recruiting base do you have for the area that you're going to get hired at.
Texas. Should be a good
great place.
Yeah.
One
Joe,
lesson they
30
can
seconds.
learn is kind of like that song that goes, you don't know what you have until it's gone. And Mack Brown could look like he was a pretty good coach for the next guy to come along, just like Phillip Fulmer looks like a pretty good coach. And several former players said when they hired Kiffin, this is either going to be a grand slam or it's going to set the program back.
Yeah.
And
well, I think the trick there is if you'd hired a guy that just failed over 3 or 4 years, you wouldn't have blown up as you had. That's the problem. He left after a year. You had multiple roster annihilations within 2 years.
Exactly.
If you feel the guy can't win championships, you have to make the move, but you better take your time and find as safe a bet as you can.
Or name Kippy Brown interim coach.
There you go. Texas should call Kippy. We'll see you right back here next week for our Christmas Spectacular. See ya.
The views expressed in this forum do not necessarily reflect those of WATE 6 or of 6 Sports. This has been a paid program.